welcome to episode 1 of
Yeah, Dr. Pete.
ISO Dr. Pete.
ISO Dr. Pete.
I'm his assistant, Stevie.
Joanne from Earlwood has written in today to say, my puppy doesn't love me anymore. Well, Joanne.
Buy a cat.
Buy a cat.
My guest today is Peter Northcote. Pete's done it all. He's played guitar for everyone, from Dragon, Richard Clapton, Darryl Braithwaite, Glue, High Five, Jenny Morris, the Monkees, Simon Phillips, and many, many others. He's played on countless recordings, jingles, TV shows, sound libraries, making him one of the most recorded guitarists in Australian history. Throughout his career, Pete has continually created his own situations, be it bands, shows, and he's currently making the most of the COVID-19 isolation by creating the inspiring ISO duos, ISO trios, ISO Quatros, ISO gigs, and now ISO talks. These creations are seeing thousands of views and interactions, one of them nearly 500,000 views. And it's getting his friends performing again, albeit in isolation. It certainly hasn't all come easy for Pete, but look, he's happy to be challenged. During different times in this conversation, we get a visitor by the name of Monkey Boy the Cat, so listen out for him. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Mr. Peter Northcote. All right, I think we're rolling. Peter Northcote, welcome to the Gig Life podcast.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome back. I mean, this time, first time as a solo guest.
This is yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
well, we did that guitarist roundtable, which was really good fun. It was really great.
It was really good.
You know, it's rare that a bunch of guitar players get together. You know, I can think of that occasion, and occasionally we do the Jimi Hendrix or the Clapton show, and that's
cool.
Where 10 guitar players get together. So that's about the only other time that happens.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. That, and it was it was cool putting it together and editing it, and heaps of fun. So yeah, and since then, I think I even said to you, it'd be cool to do a one-on-one, and here we are.
Yeah. So, look, as I said to you, I was a bit worried because, there's a lot of interviews out there with me, and I didn't want to kind of go over the same sort of stuff. So hopefully we can touch on some other things on this one.
And what I will say about that then is, in 2016, you did a interview with Matt Wakeling, Guitar Speak podcast.
That's right.
Now, that if you go back and listen to that, whatever we miss here, that basically covers all the really early days and how you got into guitar, and it was either guitar or tennis.
That's right.
That kind of stuff, and then starting into the session scene, and then you guys lost me when you started talking about gear.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I'll put a link to that interview in the show notes so people can go back and listen.
If anybody's that concerned about it,
there you go. Yeah, that's cool, man. But okay, so look, COVID-19, we're in the middle of it still. So this first little bit, we'll just talk about maybe what you were leading up to prior, and what you've done during. So we'll start with. Tell me what you're up to, say the first... let's say the first 2.5 months of this year. What were you doing, and what did you have lined up
Yeah.
Before we got sort of...
So I have a couple of regular residency gigs. I have a Thursday. Well, I had a residency down at the Rambling Rascal on Thursday nights that had been going for 3 years. We were in our third year. And so that was just a great, fun little gig for me. And I also had the first Sunday of every month down at Beaches Hotel in Thoreau. Apart from that, I put on shows. So I don't just, play with other people. I actually put on events and I had a whole bunch of shows, at Juniors, at the Brass Monkey. I do a lot at the Brass Monkey. And I had a whole bunch of gigs organized that just, like everybody else, was wiped out in the matter of 2 days.
Right.
But it was interesting because I got a cold about a week before the shit hit the fan. And I thought, and as it was happening and I copped this cold, I thought maybe I shouldn't do the Thursday night gig this week. And so it was the first time in, I don't know, I mean, even when I was doing the Bridge Hotel for 15 years, apparently, and I didn't know this, but apparently Richard, the owner, said to me, Peter, in 15 years, you've missed, I can count on one hand how many Sundays you've missed. So, I mean, the thing is I love gigging. So I'll always say yes and I'll always be there. But so I had a whole bunch of gigs of those things just wiped out and a whole bunch of gigs that people had organised for me. But as I said, I got this cold and I thought I better not go there. And I really thought that I think we've all had at some time in these last couple of months, think that we've had the disease, You get a sniffle or you go, well, what's that headache? Or, so I think, well, that's what I went through. My brother's in healthcare. So he came over with a stethoscope and checked me out. And he said, nah, mate, you're all right. He said, but I'm going to wash my hands anyway. So I've been in lockdown, I guess, since early March.
Oh, right. Okay.
So early March. And I think lockdown suits me. Lockdown, I'm sort of a homebody anyway. I like doing my own thing. I don't go out and socialise much. That's the thing I miss about gigging is that I love the social occasion when I gig, You get a lot of people that come to my shows are they're friends. And I've made a lot of friends by doing my shows and speaking to a lot of people. So I miss them. I miss that. But and I miss gigging. But other than that, I mean, I'm a doer, Stevie. So I'll try and figure out something to do, and I'll always keep myself busy. And I don't think I've ever been bored. So I'll always find something. And if I don't have anything on, I'll create something. And it's really interesting because I've been doing these ISO duos, and now I'm starting doing ISO gigs, and I'm doing live gigs. But it's really interesting that my mindset from doing so many sessions in my 80s, 90s, 2000s, that my mind has leapt back into that mindset again of doing sessions because I'm recording songs and doing them all day, and then their first takes because I've got the camera on me. So
you can't drop in then, eh?
You can't drop in. Yeah. So you do that, and you get the session mind of being connected straight away. And I've been really enjoying doing that again.
That's great.
Because it's been a while since I've done, like I used to do like 3-5 sessions a day.
Yeah.
And so haven't been like that for a while. So it's good to be able to kind of get my brain back into that again.
Yeah.
As far as playing is concerned.
That's really cool. So you've got the ISO duos.
Yeah, they've been really.
Yep, the ISO trios. What's the one? The ISO. What was it? The
ISO Quatro.
Quatro. Yeah. And then now you've started the ISO gigs.
That's right.
Right.
I mean, it's not very creative names, but
but the thing about it is nobody else has that.
No, that's right.
You know what I mean?
People are kind of using it, but I'm numbering them too. It's always got the hash sign and the number, and it's been amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. Something I never expected. It's really interesting. My partner was saying to me, you've been looking for something new to do, and because I'm if I don't have a project, I can't just sit around and wait for things to happen. I'm always going try to do something else because I may not be the best guitar player, but I love doing it, and so I want to keep doing it. And I think part of the challenge for that is also to get over my what's the word? Get over my fear of not being the best. You know, is just to do things.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So she said, you know, you've been asking, you know, to try and get something new for a while. You know, you've done your shows, your Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath show. You do the dance show. You do this, and you got this. But you've been thinking about something else, and here it is. It's been really amazing.
Yep.
As I said to you, as we were talking before, you know, like one video I did last night was 10,000 views overnight. Now they're not real views, but it doesn't matter. It's a barometer that I can look at and go, well, this is what's working.
Yeah.
You know, one of them's got
hang on, I've got it here. This is the ISO Trio's number 1. Yeah. And it was with Bryden Stace and Virginia Lilly. Yeah. And you guys sang a Meatloaf song.
Oh, yeah.
And as of about half an hour ago, it was 420,000 views.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's great.
It's outstanding. You know?
Well, it's interesting too because I'm formatting them like I do. I just gone, well, look, I know these songs. I know how to do them. I know how to play them. I can just recreate them because they're the songs that people like to hear at my shows.
Yep.
You know, so I'll just keep doing those songs. I mean, I venture out a little bit, like I did Teardrop with Gemma Wood, the Massive Attack song, and that was a little bit left to center. But then I think I used to play that with Natasha Stewart at the Bridge Hotel every Sunday.
Yeah.
So, and we used to do it with the sitar. So I thought I'll just do that. So it's not like it's anything new for me. The only thing I'm trying to do is like I'm not using programmed drums and I'm not using synths.
Yep.
So I'm the kick drum is the back of a guitar.
Yep.
And the snare I've figured out is, I mean, I was tapping the side of the guitar, and then I realized that what I can do is put a cloth underneath the strings and hit it with a stick, and it gets like a snare with the spring underneath it.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That's
so it
cool.
gives me and then I kind of compress it up and do all that. But that's my kit, and tambourines is my hats and tambourines, and then I do shakers. Apart from that, I don't do any other kits, and any synth sound is from my Axe-Effects. So they do a kind of a single note synth sort of thing. So, but I rarely use that. I'm just trying to do it within the confines of guitar, acoustic guitar, bass, and the things that I've got around me. So I'm going to stick with that concept.
Oh, mate, I would too. And what you're also doing is you're making other musicians happy. You're getting them performing again.
Yeah.
All musicians like an audience, and they've got an audience now. So you sort of you record them and you put them together and then you release them, right? Yeah. So that people can just basically watch comments come and the likes and that kind of stuff, and it's positive, man. It's really, really good.
It's been really beautiful, and the audience are just incredible, man. And people are donating. And what's really great is I've been able to help out some people that have had no money. I mean, I'm fine, Stevie. I'm not going to be fine forever if we don't work, but I'm fine, and I don't really need to make money. So it's been great that people are donating, and I'm able to look after people that have got nothing.
Yeah.
Even before the job seeker thing came out, there was people. I saw this girl with a photo of her fridge, and it had nothing in it.
Yeah.
And she was down. She was desperate. So I'm able to help those sort of people, and it's the people have just been so generous. It's just beautiful. And I think that and I'm like the ISO Duos gigs, I'm able to kind of share some of the money around with all the performers,
It's awesome.
and it's a really good thing. I mean, it's expensive. It's costing me a bloody fortune doing lights and cameras and all that sort of stuff. But it's the future.
Like there's a couple of those. You've done a couple of live videos where you're walking. I'm just on my way to JB Hi-Fi to get some more lights.
That's right.
Spend some more money,
That's right. That's it.
But it's great.
Oh yeah, I'm spending a fortune. Yeah. I mean, it's really turning out. Like if I showed you the whole room, you'll see it on Thursday night if you watch.
Yeah.
But it's turning out really good, and I'm slowly learning about video and audio going together, because that's a challenge. It's a real challenge. I mean, I understand audio. I've had a recording studio.
Yeah.
But getting video involved is another world, man.
Yeah.
It's completely another world. So it's been a challenge. And again, I like a challenge,
course,
So it's never a drama. I never go, oh, fuck, this is killer. I'm always like, okay, well, let's figure it out.
Yeah.
I do have to stop myself because I get to the end of the day and I've just done nothing but this, and I have to go, just chill. Go and lay on the couch, Peter. And then I'll wake up in the morning. I'll get the Surface laptop and go, what sort of camera can I buy today?
Yeah.
So
you really get your head into it because a few weeks ago, as we were sort of teeing this up, you said, "Give me a call after work, and I will answer because it's the only way I'm going to be able to stop what I'm doing." I've got my head buried deep in this, so
that's right. I don't get obsessive. I'm sure I don't get obsessive because it's not who I am. But I do. I like to get into it and I like to get things working right.
Yeah.
So it's been a great, and the other thing that I wanted to say about the ISO things is that they're all recorded on a phone. Like every bit of video is recorded on the phone, and all the vocalists are singing into their camera phone.
I know, yeah, it's great.
So it's been a challenge to kind of get their vocals sounding right, because in any room you can tell what it sounds like. Even your room or my room, you can hear a reflection. Yep. And if they go too far away back from the microphone, I get all this room noise, and I can't get rid of it. So I've got to EQ and do all those things. Yep. But they are what they are. That's what it is. And I tell you what else is really, really interesting is that, I've had a recording studio, and, having great quality recording is one thing, but people don't care.
Yeah. People
don't care. Entertain me, mate. That's all I want. Make it fun. Make me like the song. I love that song. Yeah. I love, I get so many people sending me, you should do this song. You should do this song. It's like, yeah, I could. It's a good song. And so it's when it gets down to what the quality is one thing, and I've seen some amazing quality videos go up, but like 200 views. It's like it's not reaching people. Yeah. What is it that's lacking? What is it that's missing? And I think that what I'm doing here is much what I try and do with my live shows, is keep it what the audience want. And that doesn't mean always playing Brown Eyed Girl or Sweet Child of Mine. Yeah. Mind you, they're bloody great songs, so I don't mind playing them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a good it's a barometer for me to kind of look at what the audience is, how they're receiving it and bringing back the information, and that's all good. So I'll just keep doing it. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, like I said, you're inspiring, and I think it's something that you will certainly be remembered for during this. I'm not saying
Pete on my tombstone.
No. It's certainly something that will, I believe, be remembered as like a sort of a benchmark of the whole live, video recording stuff and social media during COVID.
Oh, that's good, mate. That's lovely. Thank you. Yeah, yep. Thank you. Well, I'm not doing it for any other reason than I want to keep busy and I like to help people.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. One other thing I noticed too, and this is almost like a signature of yours too, is your fonts and the colours of your. It looks like those fonts and those colours were the same fonts and colours you were using years and years ago.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but this is cool because I saw posters of yours years and years ago, and it's that same font. And then if you see, as you're scrolling up on your phone, you just see the first couple of letters in a certain colour in a font, you go, Pete Northcote's poster's coming up.
Well, that's really good.
Yeah,
that's really good to know because that's exactly what I'm going for.
Oh, good.
I don't want to reinvent the wheel or anything. I know that people know what my shows look like, and they know it's me, and that's what I want to keep going. And I'm no graphic artist, and I'm no great engineer, and I'm no great videographer or anything, but I think that when I stick to something, it kind of works for me, and I've just got to keep going with it. And I'm more inclined to worry about what the audience get. Are they going to know it's me? That's all it is. Yep. So that's great. That's working.
Yeah, it is definitely. One show I was really looking forward to coming to see you play with was Barry Leaf when you guys did the Boz Scaggs Silk Degrees album. I had Barry here a couple of months ago.
Isn't he a legend?
Mate, the best. And we were talking about how you guys were starting to put that show together and,
Yeah.
It was something I was looking forward to, so I was a bit bummed about that. But anyway, we'll come around later in the year.
Yeah, we'll keep at it. I mean, we'll keep doing it, but I think it's a while before it's not going to work for a while. I don't think we're going to be doing gigs for a long time.
Yeah, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I've got gigs booked in September.
Yep.
But I just don't feel like it's going to happen. I mean, maybe it will, but there's no point in playing to 10 people. There's no point in playing to 20 people.
Yep.
And I can't afford to pay a band what they're worth. I mean, if I guess if everybody's willing to do it and they know that they're not going to make any money, then I'm kind of happy to do it. It'd be nice fun to do it. But I really don't think we're going to be working for the rest of the year.
Right.
I mean, I could be completely wrong. I don't know. I really don't know. But I got this vibe that we're going to go through a second wave.
Yeah, that's what they're saying, eh?
Just got this vibe that we're going to do it. I mean, I'm okay. My partner works at a school, so she's right in the front line there. I love these catchphrases we've got. Front line. We're all in this together.
Yeah, no, we're not.
but we're not. No, we're not. Yes, we're definitely not.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I'm fine. I can just stay here and keep doing stuff.
Yeah.
Go out shopping if I need to, and I'm all right. But going to a venue with lots of people, with lots of punters, I don't know how most people would want to do that right now.
Yep.
How do you feel about it?
I'm not sure. See, personally, I haven't been playing much. For myself, because I have a full-time job, so I've been working through essential services and
right.
As for playing, I was just doing fill-in gigs, once, twice a month or something like that. So it doesn't sort of bother me too much, and I'd much prefer if those gigs come back that they go to somebody else, because I don't need to do them. I just do it because they're fun. But if someone can get paid for it, cool, I'll give it to somebody else. But one thing, there's one of my favourite New Zealand bands were due here this weekend, and they were playing at the Factory Theatre, and they postponed that. Obviously, when this kicked in, they made an announcement today that they're hoping to come back to Australia, and they're releasing tickets. They've gone for bigger venues in all the states. They've gone from 500 seat venues up to 3,500 venues.
Wow.
So they've made a really, really bold move. And personally, I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not 3,500 people. Like,
no.
Yeah.
Is that my sound cut?
That might be my phone doing that.
Oh, that's your phone. Okay, great.
Doing the mobile thing.
I've lost. Hang on. Are you there? Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Who knows? We're just gonna have to play it out and see what happens. And I'm quite prepared to do that. Financially, it's a struggle for a lot of people, and I don't know what to say about that. I'll tell you what it is. What is really good is prepping yourself and being prepared. I mean, I've got superannuation. I've always kind of financially been okay as a musician. I know a lot of guys work week to week or day to day, and that is something that most musicians should look at immediately. If I can give one bit of advice, get your superannuation sorted out and learn how to keep a bank account, get out of this mindset of living day to day, week to week. You've got to, and that doesn't mean you've got to starve yourself either, and it doesn't mean you have to work yourself to death either. But, I was lucky in the early 80s. I was, and my brother was a nurse, and as nurses do, they move on to other areas, whether it be flight attendants or or AMP or whatever. And one of his friends started working for AMP, and she said to me, "Peter, just put $100 away a month. I'll set up the account for you." And she did, and it was really interesting because I did it for a couple of decades, and then I ended up when they listed, I ended up with 1,000 shares.
Right.
They just gave me 1,000 shares because I'd been paying $100. So that made me a lot of money, all these little things. If you just commit to it, it's like house buying.
Yeah.
You've just got to be in the market.
Yeah.
Just get in. Once you're in the market, you're in it. And I think that financially with musicians, we don't think like that. We live in the moment, because when we play and perform, we are dealing with the moment. And so we're used to thinking in the moment. And that's the best creative mindset. However, there's also got to be a business brain as well.
Yep.
And how do you develop that business brain? Well, first of all, you've got to think, how do I value myself? And you've got to take a realistic view at that. I mean, we're going off track here.
No, it's good stuff.
We've got to take a realistic view of where you are. I mean, I see a lot of people putting themselves down. Oh, I'm shit, mate. Oh, and I do it too. We self-deprecate all the time.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be a place where you're going to go, no, you know what? And I can say this to you honestly. I'm pretty good at what I do.
Yeah.
I'm not the best. And I still see miles of room for performance, for improvement, but I'm okay. Yeah. And I like doing what I do, and I'll just keep doing it. And I've got, if you want me, this is what I cost.
Yeah.
If you can't afford that, let's work out a deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's come about from doing lots of sessions too. Like working in the session industry, you're expected to have a fee, and you're expected to, work for a certain amount of time for a certain amount of things. So I got into that mindset early. And of course, when it comes to the other side of the industry, like live gigs, you just go whatever you can afford, man. If I don't want to do it, I won't do it. It's I want to do it. It's not about the money. Vice versa,
Yeah.
So musicians, I suggest to them, get into your super. And when you got your super together, manage it yourself.
Right.
That's a really important thing. It costs money to set up. I've always had a bookkeeper, and I've always had an accountant. So those things, they're expensive, but I'm purchasing a service where I don't want to touch paper. I don't want to know about taxation. It's way out of my brain capacity, People do it a lot better than I do. So I'll pay you that. You just do that for me. And, you get good advice. How do you get out of that week to week, day to day? You have a day job, so you've got that sorted. A lot of musicians don't.
Yeah.
And it's sad, because I see some really, really talented people struggling.
Yeah.
You get to this situation right now, and you're forced with it. It's in your face. Well, what am I going to do? And that's where it's interesting, And I think that for me, I'm lucky that I've always just done stuff. So I'm always in there. I'm always creating. I'm always thinking something else. I don't care what anybody else thinks about it. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't care whether you ridicule me or not. You're not my audience.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They're not my audience, so I don't care.
That's it.
It's fine.
And going back to this, you always trying things. You were in a situation too where you got involved in sound libraries.
Yes. And,
I don't know what you were thinking about it at the time, but, you were saying when we were talking at the guitar round table, the checks still come for that stuff,
Absolutely.
It still gets played somewhere,
Some of the best business decisions I've ever made was doing those library albums. And they were great. And I had a really great mentor that helped me out with that, and that was Stuart Livingston. You know Bennett Livingston, the drummer?
Yeah.
It's his dad.
Oh, right. Okay, right.
So Stuart was the CEO of Zomba Music in Australia.
Right.
And he was the library production area. Mm-hmm. And he said, because he used to see me play, he was a drummer too. He used to play with Don Burrows and George Goller. And
right.
He said, have you ever written any music? I said, yeah, I do it all the time. He said, well, what if we put you in categories and we gave you parameters to write in? And I said, sure. I love that stuff. That's what I do in session work. They tell me, give me parameters. I'll work within them perfectly.
Yeah.
He said, all right, well, we've got this style. We need rock guitar music for sports programs. Because in those days we had shows like Sports Tonight, and there were so many sports programs. And then we have lifestyle programs just starting. So we need like acoustic guitar, light music. And so I just focused on those two areas, and I must have done a dozen albums or something,
right?
And played on all the other all the other writers from the company, their albums as well. So they, still get played. I remember being in America a couple of years back, and I heard one of my tracks that I haven't even heard for, I don't know, decades.
Right.
And there it was in the car.
Right.
And I thought, this is great. Like it's being played all over the world. Every time it gets played, my stuff, I used to hear my stuff on Oprah.
Yeah.
Dr. Phil.
Yeah.
All those things. And they would bring me money because they're syndicated all around the world. Every time they're played in any place, I get a fee.
Yeah. I can't remember if I mentioned the story at the guitar round table, but I have mentioned it before on the podcast. And if anyone that goes back and listens to the episode I did with Leon Gare, this is what happened to him. He did some sound library stuff, and he was in doing one particular session, and I think they had all the tracks that they were supposed to do, but there was still some room left over on the tape. So they said, "Oh, just go in and knock this other song over." So they just like, yeah, whatever. So they went in and did the song. The rest of the album did nothing. This particular track got onto Oprah.
That's it. Yeah.
And then the money came in, It's
amazing, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Look, and when we started off this conversation, I said, I'm a doer. I just do.
That's it. Yeah.
Once you just get that mindset of just doing and not thinking of an outcome, anything like that can happen.
That's it. And this comes back to a video you did the other day about your relationship with creativity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting thinking like that. Like, how is your relationship with creativity? How do you, mine's pretty good. I still struggle. I still kind of go, I wish I was a better player and I wish I could get back into practicing and things, but I've never, it's not in me anymore. I love guitar, don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to find me now. I don't want to learn other people's stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like learning other people's stuff means that I've got to sit down and study, and I'm not a studier.
Yep.
I left school when I was 15.
Yep.
I hated school. So it's never going to come back to me anymore. I'm never going to go through that again. But yeah, like what's your relationship with it? Are you in love with it? Do you hate it and still? I see a lot of guys my age, and I'm turning 60 this year. I get a lot of guys my age contact me that have, started playing the guitar, started doing gigs, and then they got what would you call it? They got angry with the industry. I hated this and I hated that, and I hate the people in the bands. I hate the venues, and the Pokies got this and Pokies and this, and then the Fox. They find excuses for what the problems really are.
Right.
And the problems is really your relationship, because I'm just one of those guys. I just kept doing it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
I just kept doing it.
Yep.
And the problem is not the industry. The problem is not the lack of venues. We've got heaps of venues.
Yeah.
The problem is not the Pokies, because Pokey players don't want to see music. It's got nothing to do with it,
Yeah.
And if I was a publican, I've said this before, if I was a publican, I'd have Pokies to make money.
Yep.
Because they make money. So, what's your relationship? Why are you doing it? And what's the are you, again, we talk about self-deprecation. Are you like putting yourself down, and what purpose is that serving? Is that so that you can look better, or that you receive accolades, even though you it's almost like you're begging for it,
Yeah.
But what sort of output are you spreading with your creativity? And I see a lot of people very shy. I see other people that are over the top with their creativity, and they're not very good, but they just keep going and they're making this, and it's like, that's okay.
Yes,
it's all good. Everybody's got an audience, and I think that's, I try to, I'm trying not to judge anything or anyone. I've always done that. Actually, that started with after my dad died in 86. I went through a complete change of life in that time. I don't know why we're going here, but we're going here.
We're going there.
So I was working with I was working with Richard Clapton at the time, and I was making a lot of money. I was doing sessions when we went on the road, and we were on a retainer, I think, and it was a good retainer. And my dad copped cancer, a brain tumor. And it was interesting because we were in, I can't remember the town, it might have been Mudgee or something, but we had done a Sunday night gig in Mudgee, and Jimmy Barnes had been in the town the month before, and so he'd trashed a hotel room, and they weren't letting any band stay in the vicinity. So we had to stay in a hotel 40 k's out of the town, and they didn't have telephones in the rooms. It was that old. They didn't have telephones in the room. We're talking about, but this was 86. But they still didn't have telephones in the rooms. No mobiles in those days. And I get a knock on the door at 6 o'clock in the morning saying, Peter, your brother's on the phone in the office. You better come down. And that's when I found out Dad had collapsed at home with a brain tumour. It took him 6 months to pass. But that 6 months was really interesting to me because he was a really intelligent man. And my brother is as well. But Mum and I were kind of like, we're feelers, we deal with the other side. So Tony and Dad were like meticulous. If you look around my room, there's shit everywhere,
Yep.
So Mum and I were exactly the opposite. But so it was a really interesting time for me to think, wow, this guy, a tumor has ended up in the most important place in his body for him, his mind, his brain. And so that was, for me, to see him, go through 6 months of dying was really interesting. And it made me question, well, hang on, because I left home early because I wanted to get out of that environment. So there was all that I dealt with. Without being too psychosomatic, I was, if an event happens to me, I go through it, I simulate it and move on. I don't question it or go back to it.
Yep.
But going through that, wow, what happens when somebody gets sick? Do they come good? And how does that happen? Is that their choice, or is it just nature taking its place? What happens when people die? What happens? What's the purpose of them being on the planet? Is there such a thing as reincarnation?
Yep.
Do we come back? Why do we come back? What's the meaning to everything? And you know what I got to was, all that matters is right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so within that, it was also like, I have my beliefs about, I'm not religious and I'm not a hippie and all that. But I believe what I believe, and it may change at any time. But I think that all that matters is where you are right now. Well, how are you reacting? Are we in this conversation 100% right now?
Yeah.
Or are we kind of, worrying about, the future and how I'm going to die, or am I going to get, whatever it is. So within that time, I learned a whole lot of things like universal principles about, things like to not judge, to stay in the moment, and without sounding like a self-help book, those sort of things.
Yeah.
And they've stayed with me all this time. And of course, Peter Northcote's malleable because he'll think of one thing and then change and shift off into another world. But it's really interesting that music has always been there with me, and it's always relatable to all the things that happen. Like events in your life make you a good musician. I'm on this planet to be a musician. I have no doubt about that. I'm not very good at anything else. I'm basically unemployable. So I know that what I'm doing on this planet this time is right for me. But the events, big events, like when my mum passed, that was a major event, man. And we might talk about that later. But, Mum was a paraplegic for 7 years.
Yeah.
And it was the hardest time in my life. I can't imagine what it was like for her. But it changed me and made me grow, and it made me question all my beliefs, as it does. Like in mortality, it makes you think about what you're doing. But you've got to keep bringing yourself back to this. See, people say you've got to live in the moment. Well, I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible at all because of the nature of where we live and what we do in this thick molasses type world, of trying to get things done.
Yeah.
It's not possible, I think. But what I do believe is that it's our duty to bring ourselves back to the moment, because there's only pain in the past and there's only fear in the future.
Yeah.
So bring it back to this. Just keep bringing it back. Don't spend time there. Just stay here. Just come. Oh, I'm falling back. No, just get back. Just get back. And by doing that, you're dealing with the moment, which is what we do within music. and you'll become a better musician, I believe.
Yeah.
If you're worried about it and you start judging, again, getting back to your relationship with music, you get back to judging yourself all the time of I'm not that good, I'm great, or all those things. You're out of the moment of music and you're not creating. Does that make sense?
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
I've got I've got an idea for you. Peter Northcote's ISO self-help video conferences.
Dr. Pete.
Dr. Pete, yeah, there's something there. And you can do it over video, so you've got your lights in the background and
that's right. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, that was really cool, Pete. Spot on.
No, look, I like that stuff, and I like to remain mindful and aware. Like it's interesting. This time has been really good for me because I'm back into yoga.
Cool.
I'm not drinking. I've lost weight. I
found it, Pete. I found that weight you lost.
Did you? How is it? I really miss it, mate. How is it?
Oh, mate. It's getting a bit harder to put the shoes on, to be honest.
But it's been really good for me, and the isolation thing has made me get back into those things, and I'm good when I do those things. Like I was saying to the boys the other night, they came over and I said, "Do you want any alcohol?" And they said, "Yeah, we'll go up and get a bottle of beer." "What are you drinking?" I went, "Nothing." And we started talking about it. Like I go through periods of drinking, and then I'll stop for a month. I think last year I did 5.5 months of no alcohol on and off, but I'll do a month at a time.
Yeah.
And I used to be like that when I was a kid. I mean, I've done lots of drugs, but I don't touch drugs. I haven't touched drugs for decades now. But the thing about, that drinking and stuff is that I was thinking about it the other day that, drinking, drugs, they last for a little while. Yeah. And then they run out. And the beauty about this, like being clean and not drinking and eating good foods, is it lasts forever.
Yeah, that's it.
So I'm just going to go with it for a while. I mean, I'll probably hit a beer occasionally, but I don't. The problem is with me, if I drink one, I'm into it every night.
That's it. It's like me.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, I love it. That's the problem. And it was only beer. It was only Corona, Yeah. I'd only drink Corona because I didn't like anything. Oh, maybe an Asahi here and there. But, it's good being off it for a while anyway.
It's probably a good time to drink Corona. It's a lot cheaper these days.
Exactly. I heard that they stopped making it in Mexico.
Oh, really?
Something like that. Something ridiculous like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I read something about they got death threats or something like that. Someone was going to blow up the building or.
Oh, the world's a fucking mess, mate, isn't it?
It is.
Somebody said to me, it's amazing how the world functions at all. I said, look at it. Doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
That's it.
It's a mess.
How much of your brain bandwidth do you take up thinking about that, thinking about the world? Though, I mean, you're talking about you always bring it back to where you are. For me, the way I am at the moment, I'm trying not to let too much of it in.
You best not to.
And I've said it before on the podcast. I think the last couple of episodes, very early on in the whole Corona thing, it hit me pretty hard.
Yeah.
Sort of,
Yeah.
Because I was taking in too much, you know. Yeah. But now I know what to take in, and
that's right.
And it's like you said. I just if I start seeing myself getting a little bit worried and scared, I bring it back. Yeah. If I start thinking too far back, no. I bring it back. Bring it back to now.
Yeah. And that's practice. That's just practice. You just kind of be aware of that, and when it happens, you just pull yourself back in. And there's that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
So it's not difficult. Just got to get into it. Look. The question was, hello?
Your cat's there.
Monkey boy. It's Monkey boy. Yeah, look, how's my bandwidth for my brain? I was worried at first, and as I say, I think we've all been through that worry and that's that fear of maybe if I've got it, or what happens if I get it, or maybe I shouldn't go outside. And when it first happened, I was putting the doorstop, under the door. June Garufi, Tina's mum, made me this beautiful snake doorstop, and I was putting that on because I thought maybe
it's going to come under.
come under, can come anywhere.
Geez, you went real deep into it.
No, I mean, it wasn't that bad, but you know what I mean? It was like I had the flu, I had a cold.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
And I was going like, well, there's shit everywhere. And I was washing my hands and I was doing all that sort of stuff. And I just got, hang on, take a reality check. And I stopped watching the news.
Yeah.
The only thing that I do watch is the 7:30 report on the ABC.
Okay.
I think it's the only balanced thing that I've seen. All the other stuff is just crazy. So my brain, I mean, I'm aware of what's going on. Don't get me wrong. I'm not being an ostrich and putting my head in the sand. I'm aware of what's going on, but I'm not going to fill my mind with it.
That's it. Yeah.
And I've always, I think that being mindful and having meditation or yoga or something like that is really, really important. And I remember in the late 80s, I started meditating, and I meditated every day, sometimes twice a day. And I attribute that to much of my success as a session musician and as a musician in general, because I'd be doing, I'm just going to cancel that. Sorry, mate. I'd sometimes do sessions all day and then gigs at night, and I'd be wasted, but I'd still wake up half an hour early to do a half an hour meditation religiously. That's just to get the mind sorted out for the day. Mm. So that was a really, really important. I did that for 13 years every day and religiously, nonstop. I don't do it so much now. Actually, I don't do it. I do yoga, and within the yoga, I actually do a meditation. So that shuts the brain down. And I stopped meditating because I realized that when I was playing, I could fall into that meditative space.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Every time I'd play, I could go into that moment. And that's what my challenge was, to try and get there. And just like meditation, like I do some meditation where I'd be thinking and trying to stop the thoughts, and I'd get up after 20 minutes going, fuck, that was crazy. But it had cleared me. And just like gigs where I'm going, I can't connect. I'm feeling like shit. I can't I'm not connected with, the drummer's speeding up. What's it? Do you know, that's exactly the same. It's cleansing, you know? So for musicians, we need to do that because we're in our heads a lot.
Yeah.
We're in our heads a lot. I think you got to kind of find a place to shut it off for a while. And beer, what used to be used, it's good for a while, but it doesn't work all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Very cool. All right, man. Yeah. Let's start talking about some of your career, and let's hear some stories and talk about your timeline a bit.
Right. Well, should we start at the beginning?
Let's do it.
I was born at the age of 13, had to live with these people called Mum and Dad, and it wasn't even their names. But look, as on all the other interviews, it's known that I started playing when I was 9 years old. Apparently, I was calling out for a guitar. We were taking tennis lessons, and Mum bought us a $20 Riviera guitar each, and on the proviso that we took lessons from the guy up the road. John Williams was his name. And so we took 6 months worth of lessons from him, Tony, who's 17 months older than me, and I. And he always said to Mum that Tony was the mathematician, Peter was the musician. Mm. And after 6 months, they said, look, we can't afford to pay for both tennis and guitar. You choose one or the other. And that's how I started with guitar. Tony chose tennis, and he's not a world-class tennis player, but he's getting back into guitar as we speak, which is really, really cool, and I can help him out with stuff. But he's buying guitars, and he's practicing, and he's got rigs set up, and he's pulling them apart, and so it's really cool. So at 9 years old, I started playing, and after that 6 months worth of lessons, I just kept playing, and Mum could see that I was really, and my parents were amazing, mate. They were as troubled as they were children that had children. They were a mess. You know, Dad started drinking a lot, and he was a real monkey boy, please.
That made it, that sounded like our dad was a real monkey boy, please.
Yeah, I'll get those separated.
I'll separate that.
Dad was a mess. He really was. He was an amazing man. He was a CEO. He was a managing director of a gas company here in Australia. Started off as a boilermaker. His old man went through both world wars, lied about his age to get into the service. But Dad was a single child, and he was a real smart guy, but all in his head. And he was, I reckon, my brother will say the opposite, but I thought Dad was a mess. He was a mess because he couldn't show his emotions. He found it hard to hold us. He found it hard to give affection to his wife, my mum, and so but they were amazing parents and they supported me for whatever I was doing. However, there's two voices in my head. One that says, that's great, darling. Get back in there and practice and keep going. And the other one that says, turn that bloody noise down. And you can tell where they're from. But they still managed to support me and take lessons. And I took lessons from a place called Brandman's Music Studios over at Rockdale, and they were great there. And I got lessons from a bunch of great teachers, Paul Pallister, and one in particular, Mr. Vince Lobato, who you may know. But Vince taught me about rock guitar, and we're talking about 11 to like 13, 14. He really kind of honed me in on what it was all about, because before that I was listening to Carpenters. There was no music. I wasn't into music as much. My brother was starting to get into music, and I was listening to what he was going through with Deep Purple, Yes, Genesis, and Led Zeppelin, and all the usuals, and some Creedence Clearwater Revival and things. So my ears started opening up. And I guess from there, I started really getting into it, and because it was the only thing that I could do. Like school, I was okay, but I didn't like it. I hated school, and I used to wag school all the time. And we used to go around to Janet Cole's place, and we'd drink and we'd smoke dope, whatever we could get into. It was anything but school, and play guitar. And I think that from there, I started jamming a lot with a guy called Lenny Marks. And Lenny's still around today, and he's an amazing musician. He lives up in the mountains and does a lot of work up there. But in those days, like Earlwood was where I grew up. We had some great musicians. We had Mark Riley, who was playing at 21 years old with Crossfire, and they were doing the Montreux Jazz Festival. He was an amazing musician. We used to jam every day, David Ray, who was another amazing drummer, who had his own problems. But we were kind of playing lots of music, doing lots of drugs, and developing our musicianship. And then I guess at about 15 years old, the problems at home were too much. They just couldn't handle me, and I couldn't handle them. And I went, listen, no problems. If you guys, for me to survive in this world, I have to get out of the family home. And I left. They said, if you leave with nothing. So I left with nothing, no guitar, no nothing. I was 15, and I stayed I just met these guys. We were jamming. I met these guys that were in Enmore in this house. There were 8 guys living in the house, and they took me in. And Lex Wilson was the guy that had the lease. And he had one room that was set up as a studio, like a soundproof with egg cartons all over the place. And that was sacred. You couldn't sleep in there. That was the room that could go into any time. And so I lived with them for, 6 months or something like that. And that got me out of home. And I slept on the floor for 6 months. No money, eating gyros and saving the leftovers for breakfast. And, it was all a pretty crazy time, because we're talking about 70s. So we're talking mid 70s. So I was born in 60. So 75, I was out of home. 76, I was out of home. And I was lucky. I was doing some gigs with a wedding band, and that was connected to Brandman's Music Studios, because I was teaching there by the time I'd left. So but I was playing bass mostly in that band.
Right.
And that kind of led me on to lots of different cover bands and stuff. And, being in a house with a bunch of musicians and artists, you meet other musicians and artists. And so we started putting things together and we started playing bands. And then people kind of, I don't know, people took to me really well. I was really lucky. Like everything that I did, I'd get other gigs, because I guess, from getting back to I'm just a doer and I'll work it. Mm. And so from there, I got my first tour, which was with a guy called Jamie Redfern. Mm. And Jamie Redfern was on a show here called I'm trying to think of the name of it. It was on a Sunday night, Young Talent Time.
Right.
Okay, and he was a star in that, and he played with, got friendly with Liberace, all that. So it was a big thing for me. It was a 2.5-week tour, and we did all the clubs in regional New South Wales and Victoria. And I'm out on the road, 16, 17 years old, sleeping in the back of a truck. It was really, really good time. But from there was a lot of little venues around Sydney, like a place called Shadows, and that was a musician's hang. Shadows over at Crow's Nest. I mean, when did you come to Australia?
94.
Yeah, right. So we're talking about late 70s here.
Yeah.
So there were great venues. There were amazing venues, and it was just full, pungent of music and musicians. Yeah. And so I used to work there sometimes 4 nights a week with different bands, and I still hadn't hit 20. So I was doing lots of stuff, and, I'd borrow guitars. My mate Frank Burgo, who's an amazing musician, he helped me out so much. He'd lend me his guitar because he was still living at home. Mm. So he still had money, and he had a great guitar and a great amplifier, and he'd just lend them to me, and he'd come and pick me up because I didn't have a car either. He'd pick me up in his car, take me to the gig, lend me his guitar and his amp. Then take me home. It was incredible. He was an incredible dude, an absolutely incredible dude. And I've got so much love and respect for Frank. Monkey boy, get the... Go, quick. So from there I started Jamie Redfern, and then I got a gig on a cruise ship. I was teaching a lot, teaching full time. Mm. I hated it.
Yeah, right.
I just hated it. I mean, I didn't hate it.
What didn't you like about it?
Well, I wasn't good at it. Maybe it wasn't me mostly, but most of the students would roll up not having done what I told them about the last week.
Oh, okay.
And so how do I progress with that?
Yeah, right. Gotcha.
Right. So, and I wasn't just going to teach people songs, So I made a decision one day, and I was living in my house with my brother, and I went, I'm just going to stop teaching because I don't love doing it. I want to do other things. I want to do session work, and I want to play in bands, and I want to tour, and I want to do that. So I did. I just stopped. I said, I'm not coming in anymore. That's the end for me. And I starved for a long time till I made up some sort of momentum with people. But I got a job on a cruise ship, which meant great accommodation and a wage and food. So I did that. That was 1980. And I did 2 cruise ships, and they totaled 8 months.
Right.
I've lost a lot of gear and had a lot of gear stolen over the years, Steve. And that was one event that I lost a beautiful guitar. I'd saved up money, lost a guitar and an amplifier, and that all went. And that was a rotten situation. The story there was that and he's still around. I don't know if I should mention his name. No, fuck it, I won't. Give him nothing.
Yeah, give him nothing, man.
Give him nothing. Yeah. He was an alcoholic nightmare. A nightmare. Just an alcoholic, could never play the parts right. He was a mess. And we were getting hammered, by the cruise directors and etc. And I just one day went, take the initiative, and I went, okay, well, look, this guy's getting paid $40 more than us. He's always drunk. He's never doing the gig. I tell you what, split that $40 amongst everybody, and I'll look after everything. Not wanting the money or anything. Let's just get the job done properly.
Yep.
Anyway, he didn't like that, and he got that. We had on every cruise ship there were 2 police. I got thrown into a cabin once with 2 police. They had me by the throat. Oh. You fucking saying this, you're saying that about us, and you're saying that Mr. Keyboard Player was doing cocaine with us. we're going to take you down. And I was scared shitless because he'd told me that they've been doing cocaine together with the coppers. Right? So I've gone into Michelle going, oh, this is the end of my life. They're going to get me for fraud. They're going to get me for, everything. As it ends up, they couldn't do anything about it, and I was free. But we did this one cruise that went up to Hong Kong, and I'd saved up some money, and I bought this amazing SG Custom, my hero guitar, the one that I've always wanted, 3 gold pickups, and a Music Man amplifier. And we came back down Indonesia, down Perth. Now, we got to Perth, and the ports came on and checked my cabin and confiscated the guitar and the amplifier because I hadn't signed it onto what they call a Form 5, which I didn't know I had to do. So blah, blah, blah. What had happened is, and we found out later that this guy had made the phone call to the authorities and dobbed me in, knowing full well that I didn't know them. And so I lost all that, and he got off. What happened? I can't remember what the whole details. I couldn't get it back. I could have bought it back if I'd gone for the auction, but just gave up on it. It was going to cost me that much money again. I couldn't afford it. But he's still around, that guy, and I can't believe he's still around because he was a nasty man. So anyway, that's what that was. 8 months of cruise ships, and
Okay, so with that gig though, is it a reading gig? Do you read?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm not a great reader, but I had to read.
Enough. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was because you had to. The funny thing is when I went for the job, in the newspaper it said singer/guitarist wanted for cruise ships, must be able to read charts to back acts.
Right.
And I think I was last in on the day, and most of the guys could strum a guitar and sing songs, but they couldn't read and they couldn't really do the parts. And I got in there and they put a chart for me. I could read it, and they said sing something, and I was pretty terrible. I still am a shit singer, but they gave me the job anyway. And after the first cruise, everybody on the passengers get a questionnaire. How was the service? How would you rate the entertainment? How would you rate the food? Blah, blah, blah. And about 50% of them said, great band, sack the singer.
Oh, jeez.
So they kind of let me do the next cruise, which was another 2-week cruise. And then they got another keyboard player on who was a great singer. We shared the songs the night, and it was great. It was really, really good fun. He was a great guy too. So yeah, that was the cruise scene. And then once I got off cruise ships, I started playing in cover bands again. And by this time, so I was 21, 22. I think I turned 20 years old on the day we crossed the equator. So I got off at about 21 years old. And I started playing with lots of little cover bands, and then eventually got to meet Clive Harrison, who was a big session bass player at the time. So coming into my early mid-20s, that's when I started working with Clive, and Clive took me on. He was doing sessions like playing for Little River Band and recording on all the Richard Clapton albums and all that sort of stuff. So he told me a lot about what would go on in those sessions.
Right.
And, so from there I started, Clive was doing a lot of sessions, like a lot of jingles, and he recommended me to Les Gock, who was the big jingle writer at the time and still is the most amazing creator. He's one of those guys that just has a concept that works, as far as advertising is concerned, music. So, and I still work with Les today, and I love him, and he's such a great character, and he's great fun to be around, and he's a great musician. But I started doing sessions, and they were jingles, And I remember my first session, it was down at Castlereagh Street at the old 301, 17th floor, when you could park in the street. Or if you couldn't park in the street, they'd give you a garage. You could get into the garage. They'd open up the garage, come down and open up the garage and let you park inside the building.
Yeah, right.
So it was that's how far away it was, how long ago. And I remember the first session, I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning for a 10 o'clock session, changed my strings, practice, and got to the gig half an hour early, and I sat to sit in the back room and practice. All right, guys, here's the song. That was it. Right. But because I'd done all those things, I and Les liked me, and he liked that I was conscientious. He got me for every other gig that came along.
Right.
And as that happened, I started getting other producers ringing me, you know. It was kind of like, who's the new guy, the young guy? They say there's a progress in being a session musician. It's like, who's Peter Northcote? Get me Peter Northcote. Get me a young Peter Northcote. Who's Peter Northcote?
That's good.
So yeah, that's when the session thing happened. But I used to work with people like Phil Scourges. With Clive Harrison, we did a gig every Sunday for a couple of years. Friday and Saturday night up at Newcastle, at a great venue in Newcastle. And that was cutting my teeth because we'd learn cover songs with a great band, an amazing band, 2 keyboard players, great singers, and sometimes horns. So it was a really, really, really great band. And we'd do that Fridays and Saturday nights. We'd stay overnight. From there, I remember getting a call from Phil Scourges, who's another amazing bass player and bass player. And he said, look, Peter, I've heard about you. I've got a gig at the Basement. We're doing a Friday and Saturday. Our guitar player can't make the Saturday. Can you come and do it? And this was probably a Thursday. He's called me up. Can you do the Saturday night? I said, yep. He said, well, look, we've got the charts, but the guitar player's going to need them on Friday night, so you'll only get them on Saturday. And I went, oh, fuck. So, and not being a great reader, I thought, well, I'll come to the gig after you finish playing, which was at 3:00 in the morning.
Yep.
Picked up the charts, went home, stayed up all night learning these charts because they were complex, really like jazz, not modern jazz, but not heavy jazz, more like, you know, like, I'm trying to think of who the stuff, like the Quincy Jones stuff. It was all pretty heavy stuff. And I sat up all day, and then I went teaching in the afternoon and came home and practiced until the gig. And I must have been prepared because they ended up using me again and again and again. I think that kind of led me on to, I got a gig with Stevie Wright from the Easy Beats. I remember touring with him for 6 months, and Stevie had been through a lot of dilemma and just gotten healthy again. And we toured the Evie album.
Right.
Yeah. And we played all those songs, and Stevie was, oh man, he was a mess. He was beautiful. You know, like most of those guys that are heroin addicts, they're beautiful people, but they're a fucking mess.
Yeah.
They're just a real mess, and they struggle with their lives all the time. Stevie was clean when we first started, and then as we got on into the tour, the road manager had to ration out his drugs to him.
Oh shit!
So it wasn't really bad. Until one day, towards the end of the tour, we were playing, I think it was DY. I remember because we toured, all over Australia. And we got to one gig, and Stevie was off his tree. And it wasn't just heroin. He was on speed. He was on anything that he could get in those days. And we played 3 songs, and he called Evie, which was our last song. And we're going, well, why is he calling it now? Maybe he just can't do anymore. So we did the 3 songs and got off stage. I was, Stevie, why are we off so early? Well, that was the gig, wasn't it? It's like, no, man, we've only done 3 songs. Oh, shit, we better get it back on. So we had to go back on stage and finish the gig. We played another, whole set.
Right.
So from there, I guess that was my first real touring experience. And then I got an audition for Richard Clapton's band. Worked with Richard for 2.5 years. And that was a lesson in getting a cocaine habit. Because
how to get a cocaine habit?
How to get a cocaine habit? Yeah,
good stuff.
That was what it was. It was just cocaine every gig, every day, every night, and it was interesting. I mean, it was a great time for a guitar player because Richard would just start the song and then do his verse and then go off. And there's always lots of long guitar solos. I really love Frank Zappa.
Yep.
And Frank Zappa doesn't like drugs, doesn't do drugs.
Right.
But he wrote a song called Cocaine Decisions. You are a doctor or a lawyer, cocaine decisions. And that's what Richard was like. There was no reality in what he was doing.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't take much to play 12 songs every day, every gig for the rest of your life, you know, and I think I'd be bored shitless too. But, you know, that's when my dad passed away, and that was when that whole change of life went on too. And, you know, coming out of a cocaine-fueled...
Good way to get
I've been really
straight.
lucky.
Yeah.
I've been really lucky with drugs because my body always goes, that's enough. I never get hooked. I mean, I got hooked on it, but my body eventually goes, no more.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going down. And I've seen too many people go down. So I stopped, and you know, and mind you, it wasn't as bad as some people. You know what? Some people get really bad habits. I was never that bad. I mean, maybe I was, but I didn't think I was.
Yeah, it's always the way.
Typical drug addict.
Yeah.
You know, I preface this all with I haven't touched any drugs for, God, it's got to be 25 years.
Oh, good on you.
So I don't touch anything. But so when Dad passed away, my whole process of living as just a muso, making gigs, getting money, mate, you know, having a beer, you know, what are you doing? Hanging out, learning songs, you know, it all changed, completely changed. It's like the whole mindset just shifted. And as I say, like those big lessons really change a musician and make a musician. And I think you've got to, when they happen, like a parent dying or a child dying or whatever, I think you've got to kind of try and find a positive path and stay with that path. Otherwise, you go down. From there, I started working with Dragon. I had a beautiful girlfriend at the time too. Her name was Kelly Abbey, and she was she's an amazing dancer and choreographer. And she was just, because she had a situation where her partner had just died, and my dad was dying. So we went through this whole thing together, this whole spiritual transformation. Again, not like hippies or, wow, man, I'm so spiritual. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was much more beyond that. And we had a really great relationship in that regard. And she was creative too. She was an actor and a dancer. But that changed me. And that's when I started working with Dragon. And Dragon I did for, got to be 6 years. We had an amazing time. And it was with the real Dragon, with Mark Hunter.
Yep.
Who was just a fucking beautiful larrikin character. He was great. He used to call me Petey Wheatstraw. Petey Wheatstraw. I remember him walking out of the lift one night after a gig, and we'd been out, the couple of the guys had been out having pizza, and we're about to get back into the lift to go up to our bedrooms. It's after 3:00 in the morning, and Mark's on his way down off his tree. So Mark's gotten out of the lift, and we're on the way back up to bed. You know, he said, "Come on, Pete, let's go and paint the fucking town." And I've gone, "Mate, I'm just going to go to bed. We've been out." He said, and this line I'll never forget, "Come on, Pete, you're almost human. Don't quit now." So Mark was great. Mark was such a good dude. I really loved him, and he was a really good, fun guy. You know, I really liked him, and he liked me too. I think because I was light. You know,
that's good.
So we did that for a long time, and within that band, we did we worked with Sharon O'Neill a lot. So I toured with Sharon O'Neill. Yep. We did gigs with Barnsey, and you know, whoever else. So we would be the backing band. We were a good backing band, you know, and we would play with everybody. So whenever there was a big concert, we'd be the backing band, and we did a number of those. So that was a really great time. And of course, when we weren't on the road, I was still on a retainer. Yeah, you know, in those days, I think it was like $1,500 a week.
Really?
Yeah, man, it was amazing.
Wow.
Amazing time. And then I was doing sessions as well, like, you know, and if we weren't gigging, I was doing sessions. So sessions galore were just every day. I'd do 2, 3, 5, you know, depending what it was.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, the sessions is one thing, but the touring, I'll keep talking about the touring because the sessions I could talk about forever.
Let's go back to the retainer thing then, because that's really interesting. Yeah. So, in, for example, 12 months, how often in that 12 months is Dragon actually playing, and how often are you getting that $1,500 a week? Right,
so we would do, for example, we might do a 6-month run. Yep. Or it might be a 3-month run, you know. And then if we didn't have any gigs on that week, we'd still be on the retainer.
Right.
Right. So So this would go on. It'd be a run, like it might be 6 months, and if we didn't have any gigs on in the week, we'd still be paid the retainer.
Oh, okay. So it's the retainer for the run. Okay.
Yeah, for
during
the run.
Right. Okay, got you now. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
But you know, the most we wouldn't be doing anything would be 3 or 4 months, and I was just doing sessions anyway. So, I mean, it's all a bit blurry to me of the past.
Yeah.
I can't really remember because
cool.
like I say to you, I simulate events and move through them, and that's enough.
Yeah, I got you.
But
so were you there with Dragon up till
Mark
passed away?
Yeah, I think I'd started doing other things. That might have been the very last tour that I couldn't do.
Okay.
And that's when that was a completely different band.
Right.
And I mean, I was getting people like Gordon Rittmeister in it.
Yeah.
In on that gig. I got him in on that.
Yeah.
And because we were playing in a band called Glue. We had an instrumental band, you know, which was pretty adventurous.
Yep.
But Glue, I don't know, people know this, but some people will know this. Glue was a jazz fusion band. And it was more jazz than I was fusion.
Okay.
Yeah, it was more jazz. It was just more jazz than I could handle. I'm not a jazz musician at all, you know. It was great because we did incorporate the rock side of fusion things, you know, but it was just a bit too jazz for me, and I couldn't really cope with it. It wasn't me. Mm-hmm. But that was really good fun. Don't get me wrong. We wrote some amazing music. We would rehearse a couple of days a week, just get at Gordy's place and just write music. So that was around about that time too.
Yep.
There was a couple of residencies that I used to do, a place up at the top, not on the top, I think it was the 6th floor of the Hilton Hotel called Juliana's. Right. And that was an amazing gig. It was like it was a nightclub, like an old style nightclub with old, you know, and I used to do that with Tina Cross. Would you know Tina Cross from New Zealand?
No.
She was amazing, incredible, great singer.
Yep.
And that show had dancers.
Right.
So we had it was a really, really good show and a great band. Oh, I've always played with great bands. I've always been able to play with great musicians.
Yeah.
Again, lots of cover bands. And then I got a gig with Jenny Morris.
Yep.
I love Jenny Morris. She's such a beautiful woman, such a great songwriter and such a great person. She doesn't sing anymore.
Yeah.
She's got this throat thing that just doesn't work for her, and which is a real shame because she was great. And there's a couple of clips on YouTube with me playing with her, mm-hmm. and she was such a great band too. We had Rajan Kamal on keyboards, mm-hmm. Kamal's son. Mm-hmm. We had Victor Rounds on bass, Con Centenary on drums, and Sunil De Silva on percussion. Mm-hmm. Great band, really good fun. And it wasn't like a rock band, you know, it was more like a funk rock band. From there, I got a tour. You know, it's really interesting. I toured with the Monkees. We did it might have been a 3-week tour, Australia and New Zealand. Now, when I was a kid, apparently I screamed out for a guitar because I used to watch the Monkees. And here I am in 1990 touring with the Monkees.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the whole full circle. There it was, playing with the Monkees. You know, so that was really interesting. That was incredible.
And now you got a cat called Monkey.
Monkey Boy, yeah, Monkey that's right. They were more like a club band back then, you know, when I was touring, but they're still great fun. It was great music to play.
Yep.
From there, I got Margaret Ehrlich gig.
Yep.
Margaret, you know Margaret from New Zealand?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She was amazing. Actually, that's the CD. You can't see it there, but I've got a CD.
I can see the bottom of it. Yeah.
Yep. So we toured that album, and that was a great band again. I mean, we had Hamish Stewart on drums.
Yep.
Mark Costa on bass.
Yep.
Andrew O and Greg Thorne, and then we had Danny DaCosta, Mary Azzopardi, Tony's sister, mm-hmm. and Ian Belton, who's no longer with us, on bass. It was a great band. Oh no, that was Mark Costa in that band.
Yeah,
that was a really, really good band, and that was great music to play. And again, it wasn't a rock band. You know, after doing Dragon and Stevie Wright and Richard Clapton, to go into a band like that, it was more of it was like a great function band. You know?
Yeah. Gotcha.
And it was more finessed. It wasn't just loud. It was all ups and downs, and it was beautiful. There, from that, the band was so good, the record label recommended us to Darryl Braithwaite.
Right.
So Darryl took us on he brought John Corniola on drums.
Yep.
And then another guy called Chuck on guitar. And that was a really interesting time because it was like the Sydney guys versus the Melbourne guys. It was really, really weird.
Right. You toured the Rise album, eh?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All those songs.
Yep.
So, and again, there's a couple of YouTube videos of me with Darryl.
Yeah, I was watching one today.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, they were hard in the fact that there was no camaraderie in that band except for the Sydney guys. And John Corniola was fantastic. I love him. He was great, and we got on really well. But there seemed to be this with Darryl and the other guitar player. There's a them and us situation,
really?
Which was just a bit weird. And Darryl's a bit of a shy guy anyway, you know. So we kind of struggled through that gig. I reckon it wasn't. I didn't really get into the songs. I thought that the songs were a bit sort of bitsy. I don't know. They were chucked together or something. It just didn't seem like right music. It was like get people guessing music. I shouldn't say that. They were great songs, you know. But
that particular album for me personally, the drums on that, because that's John Watson.
Yeah, right.
Was so that his playing on that album was so influential to my playing at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Quatro was amazing. I worked with Quatro. Used to work with Quatro with Richard and Dragon a lot. He was amazing.
Yeah, I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but he's very shy. He seems very shy, man.
Yeah. He's amazing. He was like this solid rock player.
Yeah, and then the stuff with James Rain as well. Just a credible drummer. I'd love to talk to him, man. He's beautiful. But yeah, just that his playing on that album
I remember
blows me away.
I remember Watto. He said, "What's your favourite album? What's your favourite band, Pete?" I said, "Well, I really love Yes." He says, "Oh yeah, the rhythm tracks from hell, and then they get the chicken in to sing." I could never forget that. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
So from there, I got kind of still doing more sessions. I think that was kind of when I kind of pulled out of touring. I had little bits of things. I can't remember them all. It's like it's a blur.
Yeah, that's cool, man. You don't have to remember them all.
I've got a room, laminates and lanyards over there that I just, if I went through them, it'd be hilarious. But I started doing more TV work and more cover bands and show bands and things. And I got to do lots and lots of sessions, lots of TV. I played in Club Buggery. I used to do the Channel 9 show, and we used to do that. Like Jamie Rigg was the MD in those days, and Jamie would do these big concerts with a whole bunch of different artists, and I'd get to play with all the artists, and I'd be the guitar player.
Yep.
We played with Tom Jones. There's a video of me with Tom Jones. That was hilarious. We had this band from Doom. I think it was 3 horns, 3 vocalists. Barry Leaf was in that vocal section. The band was fucking amazing.
Was Kerry playing drums on that?
Kerry played drums on that.
Yeah.
And so we had a rehearsal in the afternoon. We'd be given the songs. It was a Ray Martin special, so it was a whole hour.
Yeah.
You know, Tom Jones on Ray Martin. It was a whole big special. And we let the songs. We rehearsed them in the afternoon. We may have even had a rehearsal at a studio. I can't remember because we were on fire. It was really, really good.
Yep.
And I remember when Tom came to rehearse with us, he walked with his minders and the manager, and he walked and stood in front of the microphone and didn't say hello to us. I went, "You're not getting away with it, mate. Hey, Tom, how you going?" "Oh, yeah, how you going, boys?" You know, because you always get referred to as a unit, not as a single person when you're in a band.
Right.
Like, you know, you'll be in a band room, and the manager will come in and go, and you might be the only person in the band room, and the manager will go, "Are you guys all right? You guys, everybody's, how are you guys?" It's like, it's only me, man.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So he said, "Oh, hey, guys, how you going?" "Oh, thank you, yeah." And anyway, we played the songs, and they were fucking amazing. I still remember that band being one of the best things that I'd done. And Tom, at the end of the rehearsal, just walked off, and I went, "See you at the real show, Tom." All the band looking at me like, "What the?" So that was really good.
Yeah.
I got to play with Shania Twain, Lionel Richie. I mean, there were so many of those guys that would come through town, and a lot of the APRA people would just recommend me, and I'd get a band together or whatever.
Awesome. Yep.
But then I kind of, started playing with and doing albums for people like, I've just got a list here.
Yeah. Cool, man.
I won't go through all of them. Anthony Kalia, Bob Down, Darryl Braithwaite, Doc Neeson.
Yep.
Oh, that's another time that I should talk about. Dragon, Grace Knight, Guy Sebastian. I played on both of his first two albums. Yep. High Five, I've played on every High Five album there was.
Is that right?
I might have been, there's there's new High Five now, so I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Human Nature, I played on their first two albums. Jenny Morris, Jimmy Barnes, Julie Anthony, I played on her albums. Marsha Hines, Margaret Ehrlich, Mark Hunter, Neil Murray, Paul Kelly, Shannon Knoll, Sharon O'Neill, Simon Phillips, the drummer, when he came to Sydney.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because he's one of my favourite drummers.
Yothu Yindi, and then Elton John. We toured with Elton, Shania Twain, Billy Joel, Monkees, Rod Stewart, Bo Diddley. I played with Bo Diddley. He couldn't tune his guitar. I had to tune it for him. So, there's some of the guys that I worked with back then. As I say, it's a blur, but the Simon Phillips thing was interesting because he was here to do a workshop, a live in the studio workshop, and they got a band together.
Was this about 1995?
That's it.
Hang on, I'm going to take my webcam off. I'm going to show you something.
You're kidding me. Oh, you're kidding me. There is
That's the clinic. That's the clinic.
The clinic.
Yeah.
Did you go to the clinic?
I sure did. That was.
So did you come to the one at in Surrey Hills, the recording studio one?
Nah.
Right, because there was only a handful there. It might have been about
like a masterclass type sort of setup.
That's right.
I'd only been in Australia for 6 months, perhaps.
There you go.
And that was my first major clinic, major artist in Australia.
There you go. Yeah. So that would have been, 95?
That's 95, yeah. 95. That's what it's got here on the thing. Yeah.
That's it. And I can tell you why it was 95, because I remember doing it and it was so amazing. I got a DAT tape version of it because it was so incredible, because he just hit us up with a song on the day. And it was a complex song, really complex. And he showed how he recorded his drums and etc. And I still remember him coming up to me going, "You're good, man. That was great." I was like, "I'm not that good." I didn't think I was like at his level, but he said, "I really like the way that you." So I connected with him on that regard. It was really good.
That's cool.
But I got a DAT tape of it from one of the guys at the studio, because I knew everybody in the studios in those days. And I used to carry it around in my bag for some reason, my gig bag that had everything. And then one day, and it must have been not long after, I got robbed in my car on the way to a gig. And it was at Regent Street up at the top of the railway bridge at Redfern. And it was dark and it was raining. And I saw this guy walk past in a hoodie. And then he walked past again, opened up my passenger side door and grabbed my bag and ran through a hole in the fence.
Oh, fuck.
So I went, "Fuck you, what the?" And so I closed the door, thought I'd locked it. Of course I didn't. When I came back, the passenger side door was still flapping up. I had my guitars in the back seat. So people were just driving around it. I chased him, jumped through the hole in the fence, fell 10 metres through Lantana and stuff right down to the railway track, landed on this ledge at the railway track that I thought was about, 5 foot. So I couldn't see anything, but I could just listen that there was no trains coming. So I jumped. And, of course, it was about 12, 13 foot. So I've landed on my knees. I've buggered my knees. Adrenaline's pumping. Yeah. I've put my wrist out. I'm about to you got blood pouring out of it everywhere. I've climbed up the tunnel, got in my car, the passenger side door still flapping open. I'm sopping wet. I've got blood. I've got smashed my glasses. It was all that sort of stuff. And I've driven up, I'm trying to think of the name of the street, but I did it up the wrong way. I did it up the other way. Right. I did it 3 times. Went around the block 3 times and couldn't find this guy. He'd gone. But that tape was in that bag. Anyway, to make things worse, 2 months after that, I come home after a gig on a Saturday night. My house is totaled. Every cupboard in that place. And I'd been in that house for 15 years. I lost everything. They took all my guitars. They took all my amps, my stereo, my TV, you name it. And I replaced it all. And I had no insurance. I still don't have insurance. But that's a mindset thing again. But I replaced it all. And then 2 months later, they did it again.
So that bag that they took, did it have any personal information, your address and stuff?
Everything.
Oh.
Everything. So they would have known that
they've set up a home studio now. They've got they've sold copies of that Simon Phillips tape.
I'd buy it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure there's a copy around somewhere. I mean, I'd love to hear it because it was really good. It was a really interesting piece too. It was a very fusiony sort of piece, and we had to work out. I think Leon Gale was on that on the day,
right?
But it was really good, really, really good. Yeah, so that was my
it's Simon Phillips story. Yeah,
dealing with Simon Phillips. Yeah. So from all those things, it's been a long journey. It feels like it's still going.
Yeah,
it is still going. I mean,
it is still going.
I don't want to tour and do all that stuff anymore.
Yep.
I mean, I'm too old to do that anyway. But I love doing my gigs, and I love the audience that come along, and I love the people that I work with, and I'm really lucky, man. Really lucky. I've been lucky all throughout my career.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had some bad luck. Don't get me wrong. Having my gear stolen so many times and all that sort of. But it was a great thing, really good. And I think like I've done a couple of albums. They're a waste of time. They weren't at the time. They were good for me.
Yeah, and in that interview with Matt, 2016, you said that you weren't going to do any more albums. Do you kind of still stand by that?
Yeah, I don't think anybody should do albums. I don't think it's over. It's gone. It's like making a wax audio book or something. It's just over. It's just not there anymore. People don't buy albums. I think we're in a stage where music's not that important. I keep saying this. It is to me and it is to you, but it's not. It's not to everybody. They can get it for free, and so they should. And you
what
can't
do you
be
mean? What do you mean? Say they should? I don't agree with that.
It's just nature. That's just nature. Yeah. I think that with music, we are always the first to deal with new technology. Look at MP3. As soon as MP3s came in, we lost the ability to sell music.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at COVID-19. Yeah. We're the ones that get hit, and we'll be the hit the longest, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So we have to learn to adapt. We're creative. We have to learn to adapt. And that's the way it is. I think that people spend a lot of money on doing albums and making CDs, which I haven't got a CD player. I don't have CDs. I've got one in my car, but it's a hassle to get to. And, I don't, people give me CD. Here, listen to my CD. It's like, what do I do with this? Create pancakes. Yeah. So I don't think it's worthwhile doing those sort of things unless you're a big selling artist. I think it's a waste of time. I mean, sure, make music and put it up, let people like it. And, we're in a very interesting time right now, and it's great that it's come to this, because do you charge people for your music? Are they willing to pay for it, or are they doing it out of sympathy? I hate this.
Yeah.
Support live music. Go out and see a band. No, fuck off. I don't want to do that. I'm sick of it. Every time I go out, it's crap. I don't want to do that. I'd rather stay at home. I don't want to go and support music. People love doing it, and they're the ones that are supporting it, but that's their joy. My joy is playing for them. I don't feel the need to support stuff where I have to go and sit and stand, and then go and have to buy a CD that I'm never going to play. It's reality. You've just got to get into it. Streaming's the answer. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
I use streaming. I pay for Spotify, but CDs or anything like that, there's no point. It's really interesting doing these ISO duos. They're done in a day.
Yeah.
And they're done in my home studio, and they are mixed down to a stereo track that sounds decent, but it ends up being lowest quality when it gets to Facebook. As soon as it goes through that pipe, it becomes shit.
Yep.
People don't care.
No.
They don't care.
420,000 views.
In a
and
couple
listens
of weeks.
or whatever.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
It's people, you can spend a fortune on it doing amazing recordings. People don't care. People don't care. So I take on that thing. You know, I used to go to gigs and I used to work on a 7% principle. What do I mean by that? Well, if I invite 100 people, 7 might come. Out of those 7, 1 might buy a CD.
Okay.
So that's the principle. I mean, it's the barometer's moved up a lot since I've been doing it, doing it myself and doing a lot of it. So it's changed, but I think that you should just put music out and if, put a sign up. I mean, these online ticketing things for average bands, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. Donations or tip jar, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And then you're not forcing people to do it. And, it can work out really good. And people feel good about helping people that love to do what they're doing, So that's the answer for me. I mean, the albums like Poindexter was a wow, man. That took years out of my life doing that album. And it was, I grew up listening to concept albums like Pink Floyd and Supertramp and Yes and Genesis, and they were all the stories and the whole thing. So I wanted to do one, and that's what Poindexter was.
Yeah. And
I did everything myself, everything. And like I do with all the things that I do, I like to. It's not like I'm a control freak. It's just that I can't find good help. I remember taking a photo. I had to go in a magazine, and I had to put my name on it. And I thought, well, I haven't got the right fonts. And I took it to this girl. How much? I got recommendation off Facebook. How much is it going to cost? $300 an hour. And I thought, if it takes you more than an hour, there's something wrong. So, all right, let's do it. And I sent her the stuff. You know what she did? She took the font, changed it from white to black, and put it up there. And I went, you can keep it. I'm not paying you $300. So, they're students learning it. So I thought, well, I might as well just learn it myself.
Right.
So I do everything myself.
Yeah.
I get help from people, but, doing an album yourself is a challenge because you're the only one that's listening to it, making decisions.
Yeah. I mean, I did an EP myself. Played all the instruments except there was a couple of, I think there was a mate of mine did on 2 of the tracks. 2 of my mates did the solos.
And how did it go?
It was good, man. I'll send you the link after this. You can have a listen, have a laugh.
Absolutely, love to.
No, I think it's like I'm really proud of it, and the way I did it, I'm a little bit like I like to keep moving forward. I like to keep challenging myself, and I've always done that, be it with bands or music. And then once I stopped playing music, I started this podcast. So that's my my thing now. But I set a goal at the start of what year was it? It was the start of 2018. I said,
right,
on the 1st of January, I got on Facebook and I said, I'm here to tell you that I am going to write, record, and release my solo EP, my first EP. And I'm going to do it by this time. And now that I've told you, I'm accountable.
That's right. There you go.
So I had to do it. So I did it,
How many tracks?
It's 3, just 3.
And did you make physical copies?
No, I didn't. No, it's all streaming.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, after this, I'll send you a link.
Send it to me. Yeah, I'd love to have a listen.
Have a listen. Yeah. Now, you had your own recording studio for a while with Chad Wackerman.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, Chad rang me up one day. He'd come to town and he married an Australian girl who I'd worked with, who's no longer with us anymore. But she was an amazing singer, and he married her, and he needed a place to play. Of course, being Chad Wackerman, and he had a studio over at the B studio of Megaphone, and so that was in St. Peter's. He rang me up and said, would you like to go in, because we were doing sessions together, would you like to go into the studio with me, share it? I said, yeah. And back then it was only a couple of $100 a week. I thought, yep, no problems, let's do it. I never used to go there because he was there all the time. And I just think, it's just there if I need it. If I need to do a session for somebody, I can book the time and just go there. But then 3 years into it, he decided to go back to the States because he has a child with Fragile X syndrome. And so he was going to get better support with the kid over there. So he went back to the States and I took over the studio.
Right.
And I had that studio until about 2013. And it was great. But like playing with Chad was interesting, man. Because he played on a lot of my library albums as well.
Yeah.
He would do, I would write out my basic charts. He would sit there and listen to my demos and I'd say to him what I wanted. And he would write his notes on the chart. And if he didn't get it in the first take, and they weren't easy songs, they were complex stuff, you know, lots and lots of accents. He'd get it on the second take. And if he didn't get it on the second, he'd only do the third take. And if he didn't get it on the third, that was it.
Get someone else.
Someone else. No, but he never got to the third take.
Yeah, right.
Well, the first take was always amazing. The second take was just, you know, more refined.
Yeah.
You know. So but he was an amazing player.
He's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw some when I was researching for Leon's interview.
Yeah.
I was researching some stuff and there's some YouTube clips of Leon playing with Chad.
Well, I used to do the library albums with them.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. So did you do the song that got on Oprah then? That Leon was talking about?
I don't know.
Or you don't know?
I know. There's so many. I mean, there's so many, you know. Like I listen to old commercials now and I think I played on that.
Yeah, right.
You know? I just don't know. I can't remember. It was you got to remember I was doing them every day.
Yeah.
Every day, sometimes 3, 5, you know, and then I had a full-time employee. I had a guy that was lugging my guitars and my amps around, changing my strings overnight.
Yeah.
And it was such a busy time for me. It was just, and I was young, so I was kind of keen to keep going, you know, I just kept doing it. And I was making a fortune. I bought a house and, you know, and I was always had good gear and always had good cars and, you know, it was all those sort of things. But I don't remember exactly everything that I did.
Yeah.
You know? It's funny, I was cleaning out a drawer the other day and I saw an invoice book and seeing how much money I was making, you know. Right. Yeah. I mean, I was living really well. And I still do. I've always lived really well. Like I don't think of money as anything. It's just I've got it and I spend it.
That's the way.
You know, I don't hang on to it, but I open up to money, and it's been really good in that regard. And I've been really lucky.
Yep.
Just been really lucky being in the right place at the right time. People have liked what I've done, and for some reason they just kept booking me. You know.
Yeah. And
I think you know, being a musician is not only about your playing. You know, I've seen some amazing players fall apart in a session because they're either not dressed properly.
Yep.
Simple things. Or they're not focused on the gig and they're waiting. I've got to get out of here at 3:00.
Yeah.
And I want to get a surf in.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So how long are we going to? Like my first question is when can we start? Not when do we finish?
Yeah, that's it.
You know?
That's
it. So I think that's, you know, and my work ethic is still the same. And it's not even an ethic that I've thought about. It's just love it. Love it. Love. And I remember, you know, I talked about those universal principles. One of the things that really stuck with me was if you don't know what you love to do, I mean, everybody says you should do what you love to do, you know. Yeah, well, okay, that's fine. But what is that?
Yeah.
What is that? You know, like people might love to play guitar, but they may just think it's not exactly what I want to do. Maybe, you know, I think of Ray Beadle, who's an amazing guitar player. I mean, he just loves driving his truck.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go through all the other stuff.
Right.
He loves to play, but I love the truck, man. I'm in my space. I love it. And I get that. But like, what is it about loving what you do? And the one saying that stuck with me was, if you don't know what it is you love to do, love what you're doing until what you love to do comes to you.
That's it.
And I've seen that work in every situation that I do. If I take on something, it doesn't matter how shitty the gig is. Learn the gig, because I've done gigs where I haven't learned the stuff and I've walked away in pain. Yeah. You know, it's not worth, let me tell you, it's not worth the drive home.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I get into it now. It doesn't matter who I play with, and I play with everybody. I'll learn the songs and write the charts out better than anybody else.
Yep.
You know, just so I have a good time. I do it for me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's good.
And maybe that's selfish, but I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's about the love I have for it, you know.
Yeah.
And even if I don't have the love for it, I want to gain love for it.
Yeah.
Because music is such an important thing for the spirit. So I see a lot of people contact me. A lot of older guys contact me saying, you know, I used to play guitar and I don't do it anymore. Got married and had the kids. The guitar's under the bed, and first thing I ask him, where is the guitar? Oh, it's in the cupboard. I say, go. And if they come to a gig, I say to them, and I say to the wife too, make sure when he gets home that he gets the guitar out of the case and leaves it out in the lounge room.
Mm.
And they kind of look at me like, yeah, that's what I should do. Put some new strings on. So, mate, even if you walk past it and you go fling, you're connecting with it, you know, because the love that you had when you first started playing music is still there. It doesn't go away. That's why you're here watching me play, because you love what I'm doing. And you're probably thinking, oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
Well, get into it. Get into it. You know, it doesn't matter. It's the love and the joy that you get from playing music is always there. And you can try and stop doing it. I see people, you know, people put some very personal, stupid things on Facebook. I'm going to quit music for now. I'm going to quit it. You know, I'm going to take a sabbatical. I was like, I've seen people do it. And they last for 4 years maximum. Then they're back into it. Like, I can't believe it. Like, you know, starving. I got to get a guitar. It's like, you know, don't do it. Just get into it. Just get into it. And don't worry about being good or bad. Find the joy in the reason why you started playing. It's not about being the best. It's not. We're never going to be the best. There's always going to be somebody better or worse than you.
Yeah.
And you know what? As I said to you in the beginning, is I'm not trying to be best or better. I'm trying to find me.
Yep.
Who am I? Like, for example, Jeff Beck has found Jeff Beck, you know, and I don't think I'm going to find it to the clarity he has found it, right? But it doesn't matter. I'm going for it.
That's it.
And that's my joy. And I'm going to love this until what I love to do comes to me. I mean, I'm already in it. You know, I'm already in love with it. So, and that goes with everything. That goes with relationship. That goes with every event in my life. If you go in half-assed, you know, the universe functions perfectly. If, you know, what you put out is going to come back to you exactly the way that you put it out. Exactly. It's like a fucking huge mirror. You know, again, I'm starting to sound like Dr. Phil, but I'm not. You know, but you know, that's what what I'm saying by that. It's totally. It is a huge mirror. Whatever you put, everything functions perfectly. But we kind of think, oh, why did this happen to me, or why did that? Being robbed 3 times was an amazing thing for me. I think it was one of the best times of my life, because all I was doing was making money, sitting at home buying great stereo equipment so I could get stoned and watch great videos. You know. Buy them. I'd buy the videos and sit there and watch them, and, you know, or whatever, and then go and do sessions all day. And I thought, life's got to change somehow. And it made me change. Right. You know, so it was more than, and I moved into this apartment. My life completely changed, and it's been it's an amazing world. You know, now, I'm not a victim. You can't be a victim of stuff. You know, I'm getting all spiritual. It's all good. I'm not a hippie, man. I'm truly not. But it is. You can't be a victim of anything.
Welcome to episode 1 of
Dr. Pete.
ISO Dr. Pete.
ISO Dr. Pete.
I'm his assistant, Stevie.
Joanne from Earlwood has written in today to say, my puppy doesn't love me anymore. Well, Joanne.
Buy a cat.
Buy a cat.
Classic. So, you know, you've always formed your own path and found your own groove. Has there ever been a situation where someone or an organisation or a band has tried to mould you into something else?
Well, that's a good question. Yes.
Right.
And I can't really put it down to one thing.
Yep.
But I don't last long.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't last long. No, I'm not good at it. I'm not good at being anybody else or anything. Like even when I do my Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Pink Floyd, I learn that I get the guys to learn the songs, but I don't want to hear them played exactly. Yeah, I want to hear what you guys do with the song. Yep. There are millions of bands doing it better, but there's nobody doing it like me and you.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So that's what I want to hear. And it's a platform for us to play these amazing songs. Do what you can with them. Learn the solos and then forget them, man.
Yep.
Forget them, but quote them. So I guess, there's been a couple of times I've been in situations, and I can't pinpoint at the moment, Stevie, but where they've wanted me to be something else, and I've gone, I can't. It's not me. There's only twice in my career have I handed the guitar over in a session to say you do it.
Yeah, right.
Right, only twice, and they really took me. Like I'm very accommodating. I give you whatever you want, and it's no dramas. Sure, even if you are a complete fucking idiot with no idea, I'll still give you a valid. Your ideas are valid. That's fine, but only twice, and they've been pushed hard. Like I know that I'd gotten the take right the first time. We've spent an hour and a half on this now, and all you're doing is justifying your position in your company,
right?
So that you keep your job as a creative. Well, here you go. There's nothing that I'm doing now that can make this better. Here, you do it. And as soon as I've done that, they've gone, oh no, sorry, no, I didn't mean it like that. No, well, what do you think? Well, the first take was the best one. Can we go back to the first take? Great. Okay, that's great. Are you happy with that? Oh, yeah, that's great. That's fine. I said, I'm happy to change anything that you like in that, but that's the best take. No, mate, no, you're on it. They backpedal incredibly fast.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not very good at when people try and put me in a situation. Although I am very adaptable in any situation, in a band room or in a situation. I like to be malleable. I bite my tongue a lot because I don't like inadequacy. I don't like people that I know that can do stuff really well that don't put the energy in, because I am like that myself. And I've been caught out a couple of times where I haven't put the energy in, and I've walked away going, you're an idiot. Why did you bother? Oh, God, it's the end of your career. You're out. And so I kind of put that back onto if other people roll up and they don't learn their stuff. Recently I was in a rehearsal room where the drummer just didn't learn the songs.
Yeah.
Great drummer too, amazing drummer. Mm. And I just went, oh, man, why? Why would you not learn the songs when everybody else here has?
Yeah, right.
What didn't you get about the brief? Is there somebody in the band that you don't respect enough to learn the songs? All that. That's because we're I don't hate the guy or anything or feel anything bad about him. I feel sorry for him more than anything because, and even on the gig, we did the gigs and I'm calling endings that I shouldn't have to call. And it takes me away from what I'm doing, and takes everybody else away from it because it's loose.
Yeah.
Let's do it. If we're going to do a gig, let's really do a proper gig. Let's get into it and enjoy it, not, oh, God, he's done. What am I going to do at the ending? Is he going to remember? Oh, you forgot the accents in that part. Oh, you forgot. Oh, no, that's wrong. Oh, that's not music.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
And it's not hard. Music isn't hard. Being in the music industry isn't hard. Roll up on time, look respectable, learn the songs, and have a great time. Ask when do we start, not when do you finish. I really don't think it's a hard industry. I think it's really easy if you have that attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to bat up against people. Yeah, but that's in life. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
and I'm, I wish I was a guru that could handle every situation, but I'm not. I'm just, I think shit's like, It's interesting, how I've I said to you today, I said I'm trying to be more authentic.
Yep.
Trying to be a little bit more authentic, and so it's not about. I mean, at 60 years old, it's not about starting a career or trying to maintain a persona within the industry. It's like I don't care about that, and I never really. Well, yes, I did. I did care about that, but it's unimportant now. Now it's about just let's make music. Let's do whatever we can and enjoy ourselves and make it really good. Find bands and people to play with that you can enjoy, not only their playing, but their company, and start new things all the time. I'm always starting new things. When this COVID thing's over, I'll start something else.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about starting something. And
but I mean, this whole, I mean, you might have to change the name of it, but the whole ISO thing might continue.
Yeah.
In some other way.
You're right, and this is really good. I mean,
why wouldn't you when you're getting
That's right.
when you're getting the what's the word I'm looking for?
Reaction.
The reaction and people are checking it out. I mean, people are still going to be home on a, you know.
That's right. Oh, look, I'll keep doing them.
And pull up their Facebook and want to watch something.
That's right.
And they're watching your thing because it's quality, you know. And
that's right. And I've already thought about that now I can take, 4 or 5 of those singers along to a venue and do those songs under the banner of ISO duos, you know.
Oh wow!
And so there's a lot of scope for that sort of thing. I mean, it's like I don't start with that idea and then work towards it. I just start with stuff, and then an idea comes, and then another idea will come, and another idea will come.
That's it.
You know, and I think that's the improviser in me. You know,
gotcha.
And I deal with the moment, and then what the next moment creates.
Yeah,
you know, I love it.
That's really
cool. I love it. Yeah.
Before I get to that Spotify song that we talked about,
yes.
Have you had any regrets? Is that Monkey Boy?
No, that's Ziggy the Monster Dog. There he is. Ziggy's the talker.
Yeah, right. Awesome.
I've got 3 cats. I've got a 21-year-old girl who's the most beautiful thing.
Wow, 21.
She's 21 and she's still on fire. She's amazing. Miss Pia. She's the most beautiful, my dream girl she is.
Yep.
But have I got any regrets? No, I don't have any regrets.
Cool.
I think it might have been, gigs that I've done where I thought I should have performed better, or I should have.
No, I don't mean like that. I mean, we've all got those.
Yeah. But they're character building. I did do Cats one day. Gary Vickery contacted me and he said, "Can you do? Would you be up for reading the charts for Cats on a Saturday afternoon and a Saturday night, a matinee and afternoon?" And I went, "Fuck!" And he said, "You've only got a couple of days to learn." I went, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I studied and studied and studied. But if you know anything about Cats, there's like the charts are like a full page of 13/8, and then in the middle of on the second last quarter of the third last bar on the second line, there's donk. And if you miss that, you're out.
You're out. Yeah, right.
And so many things I miss. And the irony of this all is that I did the first matinee for him, and I freaked out. The conductor came up to me and said, "You missed a whole bunch of things." And I said, "I know, I'm really sorry, man. I only had this for a couple of days and I've worked hard, but I'm not used to this." And he said, "All right, we'll come back. We'll have a break and come back half an hour and I'll sit with you and go through the bits." And I said, thank you so much. I went to my mate's place and went, "I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back for the second show." I did, but I knew that that's something that I never wanted to do again.
Yeah, right. Okay.
It's not me. I can't do it. I'm not cut out for that. And Gary Vickery, who does that sort of stuff, is amazing at it.
Right.
Like, no way I could do what he does.
Right.
The irony of it all is the conductor ended up using me as a guitar player for all the albums that he used to produce, like Julie Anthony, Marsha Hines, all those. All the classical singers and etc. Because he was in that world.
Right.
He used to use me for all those albums because he knew, and he'd say to me at the beginning of the session, "Look, the charts, I've kept them as simple as I can for you, but there's a couple that you might have to learn the lines." I go, "No worries, I'll learn them."
Right.
And he'd love it because I performed and I played like a musician, not like a reader.
And you gave it a shot. You tried.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
And he'd book me for everything from then on. It was really, really good. But that was a scary time, mate. So that was a regret that I didn't, probably learn it as much as I possibly could. But again, it was my capacity that was the problem, not me. My brain won't retain all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And being a session player, you learn a song in a day and it's gone, and you learn another one, it's gone.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yep.
And so my brain doesn't retain stuff that well. I mean, it's not because I'm stupid or I've done too many drugs, although probably it's contributed to it some ways. But I like having millions. I like my list of songs, my charts is millions wide, and
gotcha.
If sometimes you don't play those songs for months or years, at least I've got a net to fall into.
That's it.
Yeah. So no regrets. No.
Very cool. Now the last couple of episodes of the podcast, I introduced a new segment, if you can call it that. I've had a Gig Life podcast Spotify guest playlist for ages, like almost probably 12 months now. And what it is, it's made up of songs that my guests have either played on or they're their songs. Recently I've wanted to add to that. So the way we're doing that is I'm going to ask you, I asked you this today because it was something you need to think about because I wasn't going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
One song that's had the most influence on you, and what we'll do is you can introduce that song, talk about it a little bit, and I'll I'll play the song sort of underneath you talking about it, and I'll put that song in the playlist, and that playlist, the link for that is in the show notes. So,
right.
I'll put it over to you, Pete, and you can introduce the song.
All right. Well, this is it's Yes, and the album is called Relayer, and it's the song is called Gates of Delirium, and it's a whole side of the album. You know, of course, I learned them off vinyl, and I've never learnt any. Well, I've learnt little bits of this track, but it's a heavy track, man, and it's something that you could listen to and go, "Well, it's a piece of shit." But the more you listen to it, the more there is in it. And for me, it is, if I had a Desert Island album, it would be this one. If I had Desert Island guitar, it'd be the Ibanez Gem. And if I had a Desert Island album, it would be this one.
Right.
Steve Howe, in those days, he was my favorite guitar player because I was looking at and seeing people like Tommy Emmanuel and Jim Kelly, who were not just great musicians, but incredible, versatile musicians, right? And Steve Howe was a finger picker, like a Chet Atkins style player, and a jazz player, and a dobro player, and an electric player. And, you know, he could play rockabilly and he could play rock music. And I just loved what he played. He was a versatile guitar player, and I loved everything that he did. He won Best Guitar Player 5 years in a row in Guitar Player magazine.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know about him. A lot of people just think he's this rock, what do they call it, prog rock player that's not very good. But he was amazing. Like, you never meet your heroes either, Steve.
Yeah.
Because I met him, and it was very disappointing. It was really disappointing.
I think you told the story on Matt's
that's
podcast.
right. I did. Yeah. But
and he wasn't very nice to you at all.
No, he just wasn't nonchalant.
Right.
So never meet your heroes. It's a way to ruin it. But no, this track and this whole album, it's harmonically, rhythmically pungent, because they weren't just doing simple 4/4 stuff, and they would rehearse up this stuff and play it live.
Oh, right.
Unbelievably, like the complexities of this stuff, they would play it live. So I love this album, and it changed my life in the fact that I was starting to get into Yes as a band, and my brother was bringing home, you know, Close to the Edge and all those sort of things. And I really like those albums. The first Yes album was fantastic. But this one, I thought, well, I really like the old stuff. I should go and buy this album called Relayer, and I bought it. And in those days, I could only afford secondhand from Ashwood's in Pitt Street. And I'd get it, and I'd play it, and I'd go, nah, it's shit. And then I'd send it, I'd go in and swap it for another record. And I did it 3 times. And then I got it. Like almost overnight, I listened to it and I went, holy shit, because I remembered bits. Yeah. You know how you learn an album in your head?
Yeah.
And so I got into it, and then every time I listen to it now, I still learn something more from it.
Right.
So, and the melodies are beautiful, and it's complex and simple in its delivery, and I love everything about it.
And that particular song, The Gates of Delirium, is actually 21 minutes long.
21 minutes, mate. That's it.
So
the other side of the album has only got 2 songs on it.
So there's a couple of 9-minute songs and a 3-minute song and a 4-minute song.
Well, that's probably the remastered version, but the original album only has 3 songs on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But the journeys, it's a complete journey. Remember, this is the whole thing. Those days are completely gone. People don't listen to albums in that form anymore.
Yeah.
And it's hard to expect people to do that because they don't have the time. But in those days, we were kids. We'd get the album and listen to it and read the liner notes, and it was a whole journey.
Yep.
And that's what I tried to do with Poindexter. Big mistake.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, yeah. it was a concept album. Poindexter and Genius Sex Act was a concept album.
I've heard it, but what, you just didn't get the response?
No. You know what's really interesting is I get people come up to me and say, "I got that album, and I think it's the most amazing piece of work."
Right.
It's great. Well, you're about the only other person that has. I always say that because for me it's I struggled with a lot of things. Like I didn't have a real drummer on there. I had to kind of do my own programming and stuff, and I used loops and things. But it was more about the guitar and the songs and the concept and the story.
Yeah. And
it was due to the fact that I had a relationship bust up, and I wanted to figure out what love was all about.
Okay.
Right. So it's without being soppy, it's definitely not a soppy album at all. It's complex and fun, funny. It's got Zappa, it's got it's got Genesis, it's got, Toto, it's got Deep Purple, it's got all those things in it. But it was a labor of love, that album. But anyway, this Yes album is incredible. And I came from the school of, songs like Carpenters right up through Led Zeppelin, classic rock, and then into Yes and things like that, and then into fusion.
Yeah.
So by the time I was in my 17 or 18, I was listening to Miles Davis and stuff. But I didn't stay anywhere.
Yeah.
I just kept moving. So I kept moving through that, and I'm back at pop and rock music.
Yeah.
I love it all. Fusion frustrates me. Fusion. I listen to some things and I go, "Why'd you put the odd timing? What you're trying to be clever?" Oh, it just doesn't work. Yeah. And I think of the punters that come along to my gigs, and I go, would they listen to it? No way.
It's almost better to watch now, isn't it?
Yes.
To watch it being performed, and as a drummer,
it is
watching it.
Yeah, it's clever.
Yeah, it's clever. Yeah,
it's clever. Yep. Yeah, but it doesn't grab my ears as musically anymore.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Well, Pete Northcote, thanks so much for spending this time with me tonight, man. I'm glad we did the one-on-one, and it's been
me
really
too.
cool. And
thank you. I hope I haven't spoken too much, and
the more you speak, the less I have to. So,
and that's good, isn't
it? That's what it's all about,
Yeah, great, mate. Well, look, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate what you're doing too, because it's really great for musicians. It gives them a chance to kind of get out of their shell and talk about what they're up to and things, especially at this time,
Yeah, thanks, Pete.
We got to reinvent ourselves. So thank you, mate, for doing that. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man. And keep up the ISO stuff, and I'm looking forward to producing the self-help. I want that role. I want the
you're in
producer's role. It was actually my idea. So executive producer will be fine.
Okay, well, I've got the cameras. So we'll do it.
Awesome. All right, Pete.
Look, hey, listen, Stevie.
Yeah.
While you're here,
yeah,
just have a look under your chair. It's a new car.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, awesome, Pete. Thanks so much,
Good on
man.
You, mate.
All the best with the rest of the ISO stuff too, man.
All right. I'll be watching. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
Sweet as.